So the last time you were with us, and I don't recall if you were here on radio or on TV, you were telling us, correct me if I'm wrong on this, maybe I'm even misremembering, but you were telling us about a lawsuit on behalf of the youth of the world about global warming.
Well, yeah. Basically, it's at this point, it's on behalf of the U.S. youth, pretty much just standing up for our planet, saying that we don't want the government to keep allowing the fossil fuel industry to take advantage of our future, of our basically the planet we depend on for life, because they actually have a legal obligation to protect natural resources for future generations under the public trust doctrine and commons law and these really well-founded legal doctrines.
They being whom?
The U.S. government. Every sovereign state, as one of the aspects of sovereignty, has to agree to basically, to some extent, protect navigable waters and land and forests and things
And
like this.
is this under United Nations agreement, or is this, where do we find
You know
this
what?
in law?
Completely clear about the actual legality of it. All I know is that basically the public trust doctrine states that we have to keep these resources in common for future generations, basically as beneficiaries of this trust.
Right.
And we, as young people, as the youngest generation, are basically standing on behalf of those future stakeholders, the ones who will basically have to inherit the planet that we create over the course of our generation's lifetime. And basically, I feel like the way that our system is structured right now doesn't allow for people to be connected with each other, to be connected with nature, and it leads to problems from climate change to war to poverty. I really think that they're all symptoms of the same sickness in the way that we think, and I really feel like attacking, or not attacking, but trying to heal this sickness comes down to taking action in all the levels of basically society that we can, from our own personal relationships to schools to institutions to ultimately the government. And over the course of my work, I've found that, or I've begun to consider the possibility that the legal world is basically the way into these really bureaucratic governmental systems. And so that's what we're trying to do. We're working with a group of really good lawyers who have been working on this legal doctrine called atmospheric trust litigation. And we're basically asking that the U.S. government develop a plan to reduce carbon emissions 6% per year beginning now, basically, which is what the science says needs to happen if we are to
avoid disaster.
Avoid disaster, basically.
Yeah. And who is the litigant?
You mean who's filing the case?
Yeah. On who? Yeah.
Basically, I and four other young people are the plaintiffs in the federal lawsuit. We also have cases were filed in all 50 states a couple of years ago, and one or two of those are still active. But for the most part, the federal case has gone through a lot of ups and downs over the past couple of years. It was after a year of deliberation, following the initial hearing, the case was dismissed. But
was that on the basis of a lack of standing or a lack of specific case law that was being violated? Yeah, what was the basis for the dismissal?
Well, it was, I mean, the manufacturing and trucking industries actually intervened in the case to fight us, essentially. And they pretty much sent a team of really good lawyers just to find any loophole that they could in our argument, and basically just resort to legal quibbles about who has a jurisdiction for this or what the right jargon is for that. And it basically just, the moral issue wasn't allowed to be made at all. I mean, Dr. James Hansen, one of the world's top climate scientists, was ready to testify at the hearing on behalf of his grandchildren, but the court wouldn't allow the climate change point to be made at all. They basically just resorted to just picking apart the language of the legal.
Have things gotten better since then?
They have. We filed a motion we filed an appeal, and that has taken until this week to be heard. But
in which court?
In the Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C.
So the D.C. Circuit Court, the D.C. Appeals Court.
Yeah, and it's we were supposed to have an oral argument last Friday or last week sometime, but that was canceled. For some reason, they basically just didn't want the constituents in this case, the young people who are ready to come to the court and basically show their faces to the
so what's going to happen?
Their presence there. So the judges deliberated on their own in private on Friday.
You mean just based on front of the court briefs?
Pretty much based on all of the various documents that we've filed. There's amicus curiae briefs that some scientists filed. They're gonna. I mean, there's a lot of documents that have been submitted, but basically just culminating, or I'm going through all of that and making a decision. So we're currently in the process of just sort of waiting for that to come in. But I personally feel hopeful. There's honestly no way to be able to tell at this point what the outcome will be.
Have any state courts ruled in your favor?
A couple of them have made it pretty far in the process at this point. The problem is that the entire process is so slow that it's hard to get any sort of outcome quickly. But a couple of the courts did.
Oh, I think your Skype just froze. Yeah, we just lost the signal. This is the one of the problems with this wonderful new technology. Oh, he's back?
Yeah.
Okay, you're back.
Oh, did it go out?
Yeah, it froze up there for a minute. So I was asking state courts, any success? We have about a half a minute left.
Okay, I mean, for the most part, most of them were dismissed just on the premise that we didn't have. I don't know. I'm not completely sure about why they were all dismissed, but the federal case is still alive, and the important thing the important point to make is that we're going to continue fighting no matter what happens.